Let's talk today about the art of detachment. Before you're able to detach from someone, you need to understand why you are attached to this person in the first place. Is it because of how they make you feel, or are you simply falling for their potential? Because 9 out of 10 times you put this person on a pedestal, and it is your ego that makes you be attached to them. And that, my friend, that is not love. That is called obsession, because love is mutual, while what you have is simply one sided. Understanding this is the first step to master the art of detachment. Hi, my name is Rebecca, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we dive right into detachment and how you can detach from any person easily, let's break down the 4 categories of attachment style that people have. The first attachment style is the secure attachment style. That's when people are in a healthy relationship and this person feels safe, stable, and at peace. The second attachment style is when the person has a fearful attachment style, meaning that they think negative of themselves and they also think negative of others. That also simply means that I don't like myself, but I don't like anyone else either. So they have a hard relationship with themselves and with all the people around them. The third attachment style is the avoidant attachment style. This attachment style is especially known in men. You can know when somebody has an avoidant attachment style when they're being distant to you or when they're trying to deflect of what is really going on. Men that have an avoidant attachment style have a hard time opening up to other people, and they tend to have superficial relationships. And that's why when they're falling for someone, they try to distance themselves so they themselves don't get hurt. And lastly, there is the anxious attachment style. Mostly women experience that, and for the sake of the video, we will talk about the anxious attachment style and how you can detach from that. Because the only reason why you would need to detach from someone is when you are anxiously attached to them in the first place. People that have an anxious attachment style, they hate being alone and they constantly need someone that reassures them through external validation. And even though they might assume the worst, that their partner or this person doesn't love them or is going to cheat on them, they're at the same time also codependent on the person, and their life and how they feel depends on how the partner makes them feel. Does it sound like you? Did you ever feel like when a guy texted you, you felt happy, but whenever he didn't text you, you felt sad? That's exactly what is called being anxiously attached, because you're getting anxiety and stress if you don't hear from the person. Versus if you have love for yourself and if you feel wholesome within yourself, no person will be able to make or break your day. You are scared of them leaving you, and that's why you start acting out of desperation. And this is simply being illustrated when you keep putting up with bullshit and you convince yourself with excuses why this person actually loves you, why they're the right person, instead of letting go of them and understanding that you yourself can have a fulfilled life and it does not depend on the other person to make your day or to make your life a better one. You trying to hold on to someone so they don't run away. Do you know what that does? That will just make this person run even faster away from you. Because when you try to have a grasp on them, the person that you love or the guy that you're being attached to, he will feel like you're basically holding him on a chokehold. And no guy wants to feel like they're being kept on a leash. Every guy wants their freedom, and that's why you need to give him the healthy space between you two. And therefore, healthy relationships work out so well when two people are being detached. Yes, you can have a great time with someone, and yes, you can show the feelings that you have towards someone, but you're not being attached to them through anxiety or you having the fear of them leaving you. And if you're afraid that they're going to leave you if you don't hold on to them, then sorry to tell you, but they were never your person to begin with. Because a guy that truly loves you will always stay by your side to begin with. Now, having discussed that, let's understand why you are anxiously attached to the person that you love in the first place. Just take a moment and think to yourself, where do you think being attached to the person comes from? The correct answer is that it comes from your childhood, because it simply reminds you from the person that you didn't receive love from during your childhood. For example, if you never received love from your father in your childhood, then you will place this person as a father figure, because your conception of love is that you need to work hard or that you need to earn love or to be loved. And that's why you so easily attach yourself to people, because you think that if you earn this person's love, that you will be worthy and that you will be able to fill your void for the love that you never received during your childhood. Because you being anxiously attached to someone comes from a lack of, and that's why you are trying to fix him, or you want the reply of this person so badly. You want his reply more than you want that the person respects you or sees you as a wholesome person. Because if you would be a wholesome person and you would have love and respect for yourself, you would never be attached to a person in the first place. So attachment comes from desperation and neediness. It's the need to be validated or have someone else's approval, because you can find the approval and validation within yourself. And I know some girls love to say, but when I'm with him, he feels like home. But have you ever thought that maybe what you associate as being home is a toxic environment? Because the biggest misconception there is that you need to be attached to someone to feel that strong emotional connection with them. This couldn't be further away from the truth, because the healthiest relationships are when both people can be detached from each other. You always have your parents and your family as an example. However, if you did grow up in a toxic environment or with a toxic family, you will associate that with the norm. And that's why you will also seek out for partners like that, especially when you didn't process your trauma. And since you feel like your emotional needs aren't being met, and maybe you have been abandoned as a child, you use other people, aka the person, to fill the void in yourself. In contrast, people that are detached despite loving someone, they did the inner work on themselves and they understand that they are their own safe place, because at the end of the day, they can always come back to themselves. And the reason why people that are being detached have such close people in their life, it's not because they need to have them in their life. That's because they simply choose to have them in their life. And that's a difference, because when you need someone in your life, that comes from a place of scarcity and desperation, versus if you want someone in your life, you choose to have them freely there. You don't necessarily need to have them. If they do end up leaving, your life will still not fall apart. There is a saying, even if you are the ripest peach, not everybody loves peaches. The person that didn't give you the love in your childhood, it's not that they didn't give it to you because they thought to themselves that you are a bad person. They didn't give it to you because they simply didn't want to give it to you. Same goes with the person that you love. If you give someone your love, but you see that this love isn't being reciprocated, it's not that the person doesn't see that you give them your love. They simply don't reciprocate because they don't want to. And for someone else to give you their love, their attention, their time, that is all out of your control. The only person that you can control is yourself. So if your love isn't being reciprocated, your self-love should be so strong to be able to let them go, knowing that someone else will see your value from the get-go. Also, when you usually attach yourself to someone, you aren't truly in love with them. You're simply in love with their potential. It's what the person could have been. It's not what they are. And that's why you start creating all these fantasies about this person. But you need to understand that the fantasy that you create about this specific person will never live up to it in reality, because fantasy is one thing versus reality is the other. And you should always live in the reality. And that also means to live in the present moment and not what should have been, what could have been, or what should have been. All the time you spend obsessing over someone is all the time and the energy that you could have invested in yourself. And you being obsessed with someone or you being attached to them doesn't show how deep your love is for them. That simply shows that you are not comfortable being on your own. That's why you tend to romanticize someone in your head, because having all these fantasies is better than facing reality. And I know we all have been there where we stalked our ex or we checked what our situationship has been up to. But all the attention and the time you spend doing that, this is the time that you can literally focus on yourself and to the things that actually matter, which is you, your goals, and your life, which should also make you realize that at the end of the day, the only thing we will always have is ourselves. So when things don't work out or if they don't go as planned, you can always come home back to yourself. You are the only person that you will always have by your side. You came into this life alone and you will also walk out of this life alone. And with that, you should realize that no one owns you anything. No one owns you to have time for you. No one owns you to give you attention. No one owns to love you. No one owns you anything. The only person that owes you something is you. Therefore, it's time to start giving yourself more credit, because you are the person that was always there for you in your difficult times, and you were always the person that was there for you in your good times. You were there for yourself and you are there for yourself. Because if this wouldn't have been the case, you wouldn't be here right now sitting and watching this video. If you constantly chase other people's approval and you seek emotional fulfillment outside of yourself, you will always be dependent on external circumstances. You need to be so wholesome and complete in yourself, because no one knows you better than you know yourself. And why would you want to be dependent on someone else if you can find all the fulfillment that you are looking for within yourself? And that's why that should make you realize that seeking for someone else's approval, validation, or simply being attached to the person because of that is simply unnecessary. Now let's come to the second part, how you can detach yourself from anything and anyone. The good news is that detaching yourself from someone is as easy as you attaching yourself to someone from the beginning. Because at the end of the day, it's all about your mindset. Think about the person that you love and that you want to detach yourself from. Remember how your life has been before this person came into your life. Were you happy? Were you enjoying life? Yes, you were. Because you were totally fine without this person in your life. And if you were fine before this person came into your life, that also means that you will be fine without this person, because your happiness and the way you feel shouldn't depend on outside circumstances, on anyone else, because you need to know that happiness always comes within you. That's why you need to find the happiness, the joy, and the fulfillment within yourself. Before this person came into your life, you didn't even know that he existed. So why would you give someone else the power to make or break your day if you can be totally fine, complete, and fulfilled on your own? You don't need anyone or anything to save you. The only person that you need is yourself. And at the end of the day, it's all a matter of perspective. Instead of thinking to yourself, my life is so miserable, why do I love him, why am I attached to him, but he doesn't feel the same way back. Instead of thinking like that, you can also think to yourself, what is the universe trying to teach me with that? Do I need to learn to be independent? Is it time to heal from my trauma? Whenever a person comes into your life and you attach yourself to the person, what the universe wants is to simply teach you a lesson that you need to confront yourself, that you need to process your trauma, that you need to do the inner work and the healing on yourself. Because even if this person didn't come into your life and you wouldn't be anxiously attached to him, I can guarantee you that the universe would put someone else in your life that would teach you that exact same lesson. Because despite that being a bad experience, you always need to see the positive, and that's that the universe is trying to teach you a lesson. Because if it wouldn't be with this person, you would be in the future anxiously attached to someone else, and with that person, you would need to learn your lessons. So it's better to take the L now, confront yourself and the fears that you have, the anxiety that you have of being alone and being uncomfortable being by yourself, then avoiding all that, not heal, not deal with yourself, and you having to do that work in the future. Because whenever you meet a person, this person always has a purpose in your life. And the person that you are currently being attached to has a lesson for you to learn to be independent and comfortable on your own. You always have yourself and you can always return home to yourself. And being detached isn't about being cold, it's simply living in the present moment, not the past, not in the future, not in your fantasy, and nowhere else. And it's all about telling yourself, I can be happy and complete on my own. I don't need anyone else to make me feel complete or wholesome. Whatever he decides to give me is just extra. It's just a bonus to the package that I've already created for myself. Why do you think the best things happen to you when you least expect it, when you least expect to meet someone, when you least expect for someone else to love you, to take care of you, when you least expect to get something? Because you're simply being detached from the outcome. And that means that you're not operating from a scarcity and fear mindset, but you are operating from abundance, because you know that whatever you need, you already have that within yourself, and whatever you desire will anyway come automatically into your life without having the need to force anything. The best way for you to detach from someone is simply to refocus all the energy, all the time, and all the tension that you are giving this person back into yourself. I always love to say, the more you focus on yourself, the more he will focus on you. And I'm not saying that just to say it. It's because when you start to focus on yourself and you become your own priority, your dynamic between you and the guy changes. And when he sees that you decenter him and you are fine without having him in your life, that's exactly where he will maybe think to himself, why is she not attached to me anymore? Why is she not scared of losing me? Because when a guy understands that you are not scared of losing him and you know your value, he will be the one running after you. And if he doesn't come your way, that's even better. That just shows that he isn't the one. So now it's the time to focus and prioritize yourself. Just like iPhones upgrade each year, it's time for you to upgrade yourself, to become a better version of yourself and live in the present moment, because all we have is right now. Life in general is a collection of the present moments. You're sitting here right now watching this video. We are living right now in the present. A minute later, it's already the future. A minute before, it has already been the past. Time is so precious, so don't waste it on a person just because you are scared of losing them. With that being said, don't try to control things and understand that no one owes you anything. As I've said previously, the only person that owes you something is you. No one owes to be by your side, just as there are some things that you can simply not control. Because the only person and the only thing that you can control is yourself, but you can never control another person, especially how he feels towards you. We are not entitled to a person's love, time, or affection. We give all that to ourselves. And if another person decides to give it to us, we are grateful for it. If they don't want to, they don't have to. Because the truth is that people in our life are always temporary. You never know when a person might leave your life. So instead of focusing on the outcome and being attached to the outcome, just simply learn to enjoy the time that you have with that person. You need to think about it from the standpoint of being grateful. I am grateful for the energy, for the love, for the attention that this person gives me. However, if this person decides at any moment that they don't want to give it to me any longer, I'm going to be fine with that. And that, my friend, is called being detached. So stop having the need to control anyone or anything. If there is anyone who decides to walk out of your life, you need to be able to view that as a blessing, because that just means that the universe removed the trash by itself. And if a person decides to walk out of your life, that should show you that their purpose in your life has ended. So instead of viewing it, oh my God, how could he leave me? You might as well view it as a blessing, because maybe if this person wouldn't have left right now, they might have left 1 month later. This doesn't only involve a romantic partner, the same goes for friendships. Because if your friendship should have lasted, you guys would have figured it out and the person wouldn't just walk away out of your life like that. This person would have searched for an explanation or a conversation. Because if a person does try to have a conversation with you, does try to explain some things, that means that they try to make it work. They try to make the friendship work. However, if you're friends with someone and they decide to walk out of your life from one day to the other, that means that your friendship was never strong enough to begin with. Because if your friendship should have lasted, it would have. So with that, we learn that there are just some things that are not under our control, and that involves anyone but you, because the only person that you can control is yourself and the actions that you take on a daily basis. And the second thing that detachment should teach you is that you should be comfortable being alone. You were born as you and you will die as you. Sometimes people will be with you and sometimes you will be alone, and you need to be okay with that. Don't force anyone to stay in your life, and do yourself the favor to free yourself up from old baggage. By old baggage, I mean ex-friendships, ex-relationships, ex-partners, because when you are able to let go of the old baggage, you make room for new people to enter your life. You need to be able to control and regulate your emotions, because people are born the way they are, but they make themselves into who they want to be. Yes, you might have grown up in a toxic environment. Yes, you might have not had the best example in your family, but just because you had a toxic past doesn't mean that you need to have a toxic presence and a toxic future, because you can decide from today on that you will not be attached to anyone or anything, that you will develop a secure attachment style where you feel safe and stable within you, because at the end of the day, it all starts within you. Don't rely on other people to fix you. It's not their responsibility. Your emotions are simply your own, and you need to learn how to deal with them. And what I can truly recommend is that you start journaling and that you start meditating. Because when you start to journal and when you start to meditate, you're not only practicing self-love, but you are confronting yourself. And that also shows that you are able to sit with yourself and be comfortable by yourself. And when you journal, you can also come to the very core of your trauma. And when you understand your trauma, you can also process it. Because if you don't process your trauma and you keep being attached to the person that you are now, trust me, this is not the only person that you're going to be attached to. Because the universe will keep sending you people until you learn your lesson, until you are comfortable being on your own, and until you're comfortable being fine with anyone surrounding you without having the fear or anxiety that you need to be attached for them for them not to run away from you. Focus on the way you work on yourself, you develop yourself, pour all the energy back into yourself because you need to learn to be independent. When your emotions depend on someone else, you simply become powerless because they have you and your emotions in their hand, so they can play with it however they want. If they want to text you, that's great, you will be happy. If there's a day they decide not to reply to you, you will be sad. That should never be the case. Yes, you might like for a guy to text you, but this should not have a big impact on your day. Just because a guy doesn't text you doesn't mean that you should feel bad now or that your whole day is ruined. Whenever a guy decides not to text you, yes, of course you might feel a certain way because we're all human, but this person should have a little impact on your life, not to the point where he can make or break your day. The next tip is that you should stop creating a fantasy about them in your head, because the fantasy that you have about this person is not the person who they are in reality, and the fantasy that you have about him is a version of him he will anyways never live up to. Fantasy simply illustrates what they could have been and not what they are. People can never live up to the fantasy that you created about them in your head. So learn to flow and learn to let go. Whenever you have a person in your life and you're being anxiously attached to them, that comes out of a fear that you think to yourself that if you're not being attached to them and if you do let go, this person is not in your life any longer. And if that is the case and you detach from the person and this person is not any longer in your life, that should show you that the soul contract that you had between you and this person expired. A person had a purpose in your life. They taught you a lesson, and after their purpose in your life has simply expired. You should always think to yourself, it is what it is and it will be what it should be. And therefore, it's so important that you learn to go with the flow and let go of anyone that shouldn't be in your life. Don't you think it is extremely unattractive to hold on to someone or be anxiously attached to someone who doesn't even see your value or who doesn't even want you in their life? Because instead of holding on to that person, you might as well let go. And if you understand that this is not your person, and you need to realize that the sooner that you let go and detach from the person that was never meant for you, the faster you make room for someone new to enter your life. My next tip is to always trust people and assume the best unless proven otherwise. Because if you doubt someone from the beginning, if you don't trust them, or if you're afraid that he's going to cheat on you, you know what will happen? You will attract exactly these type of men into your life, because what you think and embody will become reality, because that's simply how the universe works. So always trust people until or if they break your trust. Imagine a person was never going to hurt you, but you just kept assuming the worst from the beginning. The one worse thing than being paranoid is losing a person who never wanted to hurt you. Just because you have childhood trauma, it does not mean that every person that comes into your life is a bad person who wants to hurt you and who cannot love you for who you are. Say you assume the best, you give the person the benefit of the doubt. And yes, they might end up being a bad person or they might have mistreated you. You can always decide to walk away, knowing that you did your best and you did have the courage to open up to them, and you in fact gave the person the benefit of the doubt, and that shows your personal growth. And lastly, seriously get a life, set a goal, find a new hobby. Don't revolve your life around this man, because when you are being anxiously attached to someone, you make this person your whole world. And don't you find it so embarrassing that you don't have a fulfilling life on your own and you make this person your whole life to be? Yes, I understand that it might be nice to get a text from the person or to see them, but this person shouldn't define your worth. You define your worth already. And when you have a fulfilling life, you don't even care so much whether you get a text from him, whether you're going to see him, because you have so many other things going on in your life. And of course, be grateful for the people that were in your life, even if they are not in your life any longer. If a person was in your life and they aren't anymore, that just means that they elevated you and their purpose in your life has expired. Even if you had a bad experience with this person, whether you were anxiously attached to them, whether you had a bad relationship, at the end of the day, you became wiser. Without this person, you wouldn't be exactly the person that you are today, because this person that you were anxiously attached to taught you that you need to be fine on your own, that you need to have enough self love for yourself to be able to walk away in any moment, and that you are the closest person you will ever have, and that you should be your own safe place. Since you learned your lesson, you can move on now. And viewing life like that makes it way easier for you, because you can see the value in each connection and you can let go when it's the time for it. To conclude, detachment is all about self-awareness and understanding that some things are not in your control, and that especially is for a person to love you. He either does or he doesn't. There's nothing you can do about it. Do the inner work, heal, and stop being haunted by past versions of yourself. Because the past is nothing that you can change, and therefore there is nothing that you need to blame yourself for. You acted in the past with the awareness that you had back then, which brought you to where you are now. And the only thing that you have right now is the present moment. So focus on that, because time is precious. And why would you waste your precious time obsessing over a loser if you can use this time to focus on yourself instead? I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and let me know, guys, what you think in the comments.